We've talked about the advantages of understanding how adults grow in this developmental model and all of these things. What are the things that we need to be cautious of as
Mhm.
as we
Yeah,
even and our listeners try to take this out and use it to help themselves and others grow?
right. Yeah, I think, that's a huge question. And it's one of the things that I kind of rail against, like every person I work with. It's, because on one hand, it's a context that helps us understand. And we like to understand things. People in general like to be able to put a label on something because then you can sort of have a relationship to it. You can say,
Mhm.
okay, I know what
Yeah.
you are, I know what that is. That's why we have all this taxonomy, because I want to know what kind of bird that is, and I want to know what kind of tree that, it's all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's a really good thing. Where I think the problem comes is that once we identify that, we like to sort of say, okay, that's the way it is. You like to solidify it you know, it's like it gives me this sense of solidity and comfort in the world that I know how to categorize these things. But the problem is it doesn't allow for people to grow. And
Mm.
it also, like you're saying that people come back and say you're acting so level two. Well, it's also the same as, oh, that person is just like totally a two. I mean, that drives me nuts because they are not a two. It's not,
Yeah.
the number does not define the person.
Right.
The number is a code to tell us about how this person is making sense. But once we say, oh, that person's a two, everything that we see and think and say about that person goes through that lens of
Mhm.
they're a two, and this is what twos do. And then that person has lost all of their personhood and they become this projection of my own assumptions and
Wow.
biases and all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff. And as much as this theory is about helping people to understand or letting people know that their experience matters, doing that kind of dehumanizes them and saying it doesn't matter because I figured you out and this is what
Yeah.
you are to me, which is the opposite of that. And, with a hierarchical stage theory, that's a really easy thing to slip into.